And today's guest on the Financial Planner Life podcast is Alina. She is a money coach and she is a co-host on the Wealth and Winning podcast from the Personal Finance Society. And today we talk about the importance of financial coaching, the correlation and the connection between coaching and financial planning. We go quite deep as to where we think it fits within the profession and how she currently works with financial planners, the type of people that need financial coaching, how she charges for it, and why she's chosen this path as a career over being a financial planner. You're going to love this episode. If you're looking to perhaps bring a coach into your business, sidestep into being a coach, or instead take the path of being a financial coach over being a financial planner. Alina, how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining me today on the Financial Planner Life podcast. How's life?
Life is good, Sam. Life is very good. How's your life? I mean, you have the sun and
Sun? Yeah.
Which is not something that we have over here.
Well, this is the bit. I would say the biggest positive about living in Dubai is the fact that I don't have to worry about the weather. And you realise just how much you do worry about the weather or think about the weather when you're doing it. So when people take in things, you see it on TV and like English people talking about the weather. It's like, yeah, we do. You know, out here, I don't think about it because I just know, oh, it's another sunny day and I'm happy. And I sit on my balcony in the morning and I do my little meditation that I do every morning when the sun rises up over the marina. So I've got a lovely view over the marina. And I think, well, it could be worse. So yeah.
Sounds amazing. It's still a very good conversation point. What would we do without the weather small talk?
Well, this is it. We certainly wouldn't talk about money, would we?
No, definitely. That would be a day.
Which leads me on. You're a coach. You're a financial coach. So you talk about and you get people to. First off, right, for people who don't know, some of our listeners are just getting into the profession or they are interested in joining it, and they might see financial coaches and they might see financial planners. So why don't we fire things off first of all, and you just give us an explanation of what financial coach is and what you do?
Oh, that's a great question. I have this question from people who are thinking, actively thinking and obviously researching financial coaching. Because it's such a new thing. I think financial planning is an established profession. People know about it. It's so easy to research. But I think the main thing about financial coaching is this ability. Sorry, my laptop was dying. This job that I have to empower people to make decisions. Usually, financial planners take this onto themselves. You know, they are the experts in the room. They engage with people. They try to prompt all these conversations and kind of by the end of the conversation to come up with a plan with the client. My job is to help people access those best ideas. I think what we do goes really well hand in hand as a complementary thing, because often my clients would leave the conversations with better questions. And so if they do ask better questions, they get better answers. So when they're in front of a financial planner, financial advisor, they're like the perfect partners in planning because they're armed with good questions, good ideas. They're already in touch with those best ideas that drive their motivation and their excitement around money, personal finances. So I think my role there is quite a privileged role to educate, also to get them to develop that strength they need, the resilience they need to make more informed decisions.
Very interesting and a good explanation. You're almost prepping the client for full financial planning through financial education and addressing the conversation of money and feelings associated with it, right? So they understand what perhaps later on down the line they're getting themselves into if they want to invest their money or take out pension, any other financial planning need. Okay, interesting. So who would be your typical type of client? Who are you dealing with?
It's a wide range, although I find that the best conversations I have with people kind of are sort of midway in their journey, in their wealth creation journey, where they have enough complexity to actually start thinking strategically about, if they have children, if they are thinking buying a home or they're upgrading the home, they're earning enough. I think they're at that point where they're earning enough to start thinking about tax, about, retirement planning, so there's various levels of complexity, but it doesn't mean that I don't have huge amount of, I have quite a significant amount of clients in the kind of early stages of the journey, where they think about debt repayment and credit card spending and debt, and so it's quite a range one. And more recently, I think through the nature of my collaborations, I got to meet quite a few people in their kind of in pre-retirement stage, where they think about all the sort of the pension the retirement checklist. What is it that I need to do to position myself in very well for those implementation conversations. So when they're in front of a financial advisor, they feel like they maximize the value of that conversation.
So let's say you sit down with somebody and they want to have a conversation. They want to have a conversation about their retirement. You might educate them on what that looks like, how it works, what vehicles they might need to actually get them to that place. The education piece, right? The kind of, this is what needs to be done and this is how you do it. Not the actual, I'm going to go in there and pick and select the investments that are best suited for you, because of course you're not fully qualified, and that's not what you do. You educate them and coach them so they feel comfortable. The journey that they're going on, or the journey that they have to go on, and you're an educator at that point. So do you then pass it on to a financial plan? Do you refer on to financial plans? What do you say? There you go, there's your education, see you later. Are you with them during the journey, for example, when they're actually speaking to a financial plan? Or do you step back? How does that operation work?
So I'm a thinking partner for my clients. We are trying to understand what is it that really works with their current circumstances, but we're trying to clarify their evolving aspirations, priorities, circumstances. Usually, the people who are going through change or planning towards change, and so you're absolutely right. We're taking a look at the practical elements of financial planning. But also their emotions around this change, because that drives a lot of thinking and feeling about the events ahead. And often when we're in that space where pretty much everything is lined up and they have clarity in what's next, and there is an opportunity for implementation in terms of financial advice, I often refer them to a financial advisor to continue that conversation and the implementation of the plan. But sometimes they just simply need to DIY it. So open an ISA, maybe talk to, their mortgage advisor, things that incremental changes that can mean a lot, can contribute to a lot of improvement. So firstly, they save a lot of time, energy, and money by, not exploring too much and too wide. That's overwhelming. And also by taking timely action. So as soon as we clarify what needs to be done, sometimes nothing needs to be done. And they walk away with this sense of relief. I'm doing the right thing. But sometimes there are little actions that they need to take that makes a huge amount of difference in moving towards where they need to be. So for me, it's a combination of education, helping them understand what good looks like from a financial setup point of view, kind of firmly aligned behind their version of what good looks like in terms of what's important, urgent, and beneficial to them. And then there's an element of coaching and mentoring. So I think education alone won't cut it for a lot of people, because that's something that they can easily read. In fact, a lot of my clients come in with a good understanding of what an ISA is and how pension works, because they get these bits of education from like workplaces and the media and friends and family. The knowledge is no longer just something that is delivered through financial advisors or financial education. So I think a lot of people open their minds to it. But what is the role of that? How does that knowledge really fit in? The so what moments. I know all this, but what does that mean for myself? Now, that's the bit that I am there to translate for them. So once I understand their focus points, their wants, their needs, their desires, their aspirations, priorities, as they evolve, I'm then able to say, look, these elements really work. We look at risks, how they're able to or unable to mitigate risks. And then we talk about opportunities and challenges that they may be facing along the way. And with that, they go ahead and they may have really, really specific conversations with financial advisors, with mortgage advisors, with the bank, with their finance department to understand how they can evolve their pension contribution situation and so on. So I think this, numerous occasions when people left the conversation saying to me, I feel so much better just being able to articulate what I had in mind. A gentleman the other day, on paper, he looks amazing, everything, but he has this deep feeling of failure because he's not very happy with his spending habits. And so we talked about spending habits and what triggers those spending habits. And he is a grown man, super successful professionally, super successful at home, beautiful family and everything. But he feels vulnerable on an ongoing basis because of this reactive way to manage his money. So we have ongoing conversations about that, and we come up with a plan on how to manage the triggers and how to create the environment to nurture good habits and gradually get rid of the bad ones. So it's more complex.
How deep does it go then?
Well, I wouldn't say my role is as a therapist, but I did have conversations when people said, "Oh gosh, it felt like therapy," because we dive into, especially, a lot of people walk into coaching conversations saying, "I'm terrible with money. I'm rubbish at this. I'm," only with the lens of what doesn't work, and the fact that I'm there to actually pinpoint what actually works, what they're good at. It's a massive, massive difference for them because they walk away with feeling like I actually am able to manage my money. Yes, there may be some opportunities to do better, but I'm not a blank canvas. I don't start from zero.
Interesting.
And that can make a huge amount of difference. Because if you think about when we are at school, we need to pass exams with certain grades to be successful. When we are in performance reviews at work, measured against KPIs. So people tend to just look at things that don't work. Like where do I fail? What is it that doesn't really work? So for me to be in like the removed party in that narrative and kind of observe and then go back and then pinpoint what they're good at, what works, and kind of put things in the context of what's important, urgent, and beneficial to them. That is potentially be life-changing for a lot of people. And that is a privilege, I have to say, Sam.
I like it. So these money that people might have, they've got this perception, this idea that they're not very good at managing money or they're crap with money. And that's a belief that drives decision-making as well. And also kind of, it's the story we tell ourselves, and maybe it affects our self-worth and our self-esteem around money and earning money. How do you think it's because also that they're not talking about it? So it's not a conversation that's had across the table with your friends, and we don't really sit around and talk about our money. Therefore, we've got nothing to kind of, benchmark against on a level we would usually be vulnerable. Like someone we might be vulnerable enough to talk about on mental. But when the subject comes from mental health, I feel anxious and this, that, and the other because of my money. It drives another layer of anxiety, not just to the person who's listening, but to the person who's talking.
No.
It's kind of like you've created a safe space where someone can get proper vulnerable about how they're feeling. So I wonder how deep sometimes we actually go with our money. Do you know what the funny thing is? I was really stressing. I had this on my recruitment business, and I was selling my recruitment business. I was going through a real tough time, and it really affected me, my mental health. I was petrified almost, like really fearful. Oh, I'm going to be working. Nothing wrong with working at McDonald's, but in my head, I was like, I'm going to be like working in some fast food restaurant. I'm never going to be able to work again. My life's over. I'm going to lose my house. Total catastrophe. Total catastrophe. And I even found it difficult with my network of financial planning professionals to even talk to them about what I was going through for fear of their judgment of me, that I was a failure. And that's a big one that I've got, is this, I have to work on my story that I tell myself a lot. It's like I constantly, and it's not just, it's in every part of my life, I'm always kind of beating myself up a little bit. Like I'm not good enough for it. And when it comes to money, it's a tricky one, because I don't feel like I have an amazing relationship with money, but then at the same time, I'm not a massive saver, for instance, but I do save. But I don't have, that's like oodles of money all stored away, and that causes me a bit of anxiety and a worry about the future. And then I think, well, go and do something about it. And then I don't. It's like, well, why don't I do something about it? Why don't I sit with someone, build a plan, and then put a process in place? And it's because I'm kind of almost like paralyzed by the idea that I have to get vulnerable about money, which is odd because of the environment that I've been in. So if it's happening to me, it must happen to so many other people.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I remember we were talking like in the past about this conundrum that high performers have. This idea of not being quite good enough, because it's always, I mean, for high performers, they look outside, on the outside, and they look for clues for success, and they usually look at people who are 1 or 2 or 3 steps ahead of them, and that becomes the measure of success. That story looks and feels in a certain way. They try to kind of mirror that. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, for a lot of people, that is inspiring, and that drives a huge amount of really good behavior and really good set of actions and decisions and so on. But more often than not, that is disempowering, because that by pursuing something that is on the outside as a something that is validated publicly as the recipe for success, a lot of people forget to give themselves permissions to define this success for themselves. What does that look like? And again, I often say to my clients, it has to be in line with what's important, urgent, and beneficial to you and yours. And we seem to forget that, because that is not celebrated. And you said you're right, because we don't articulate it, but we don't articulate it in a way that is forward looking. We don't do financial planning. We are reactive to worries and issues. How many families around the dinner table will sit down and talk about the future in terms with the sense of possibility? We talk about like what needs to be done, what hasn't gone quite well, what we need to pay for, how will that affect us? It's always with like that gap mentality. It's like looking in the gap, trying to plug gaps along the way. But what if we flipped it, and this financial planning conversation would be part of how we approach things? Because planning requires intention, it requires vision, requires being inspired by something that is strong enough to shape you in the person that you want to become. So because we don't practice that enough, then we default to what doesn't work, what we're not good at, what this fearful approach around money as a source of a feeling of scarcity. It's not quite good enough. We don't have quite enough to do whatever we think we should be doing. One of the things that shows up over and over again, it's funny that you said, I'm a savior, I don't quite save enough. But that is, again, relative to what? Enough to what? Because yesterday I had this wonderful, lovely lady, and she admitted, she said, Alina, I had this service through my workplace for ages. And she said, it took me 1.5 years to book this call. And this is crazy, because I want to know how to invest. I want to know how to plan. It's just, what is it? And I said, well, simply, it wasn't the right time. And you have to settle on that. It's not the right time, but it's never the right time because we feel shame and a sense of, she felt like, just to your point, she feared that I'm going to judge her based on some set standards of what financial wellness looks like. I'm going to say, no, you're failing here and you're failing here. That KPI, the KPI model.
Yeah.
And she walked away feeling so relieved. She was like, oh my God, I feel so pumped, which is amazing. She was like, I feel so pumped. I'm going to just go and do this and this and this. And she gave me 3 action points she's going to jump right on. And that is her game, because she wasn't looking back. She wasn't, knee deep in that sense of failure and shame and fear of being judged. She was looking forward with a sense of, and she was able to articulate. And she said, I've never heard myself talk about these things, because it's not the environment that triggers those conversations. So having a coach, having a financial advisor, a planner in the room with you, it's not just about the practical. It's like, okay, save this, invest this, budget like this, and pension, contribute towards your pension like this. But it's just finding those ideas, those elements, the values, because we talk about value-driven planning lately. Just finding those values that you anchor your emotions and your actions into, make those clear, put them at the forefront of your money conversations. And that's when the magic truly happens. That those financial planning conversations, like a lot of financial advisors that I talked to, they said, how do you fact find? Because it's painful. It's painful to sit somebody down and you ask them about assets and this and that. I don't find it hard, because I start with emotions. I start with what good looks like. What is it that you are driven by? And it's not like big, hairy stuff. It's like the day to day, the one thing, the 1% change that will make you feel better about yourself, about your finances. So because of that, people say, well, how can I help you plug, find those elements? It's like a jigsaw we play with. And it's lots of pieces that we have fun with. It's like, oh, have you thought about this? No, have you thought about this? How does that fit next to this one? Oh, that's exciting. All of a sudden, this planning conversation is not just about the numbers. It's not about knowing thy numbers. It's about knowing thyself, which is fun.
Yeah, it
most
is fun.
of the time. It is fun.
Yeah, well, it's uncover and discover, isn't it?
Yeah.
I enjoy going inwards when I've got the awareness to go inwards. I learn a lot from going inwards, and it's an enjoyable experience. I often like to do that with others as well, take part of other people and help them go inwards and explore themselves. Know thyself is the real philosophy that I live on as well. And it's helped me in the past go over some serious issues in my life, and problems and our emotions and what we anchor them to. So what about, you mentioned about high performers, right? Do you deal a lot with entrepreneurs and business owners? Do they tend to be the types of people that might forego their financial education for chasing building a business, and they put their energy and their effort and their value into building a business before kind of looking at shares and savings and pensions and investments and that type of thing?
More often than not, I deal with employees, but they're employees at different stages. So people associate financial coaching with people at the beginning of the journey, and it's not true. I mean, serve people of all levels of wealth. And I think the excitement in our conversations is the high performers can be leaders, can develop that entrepreneurial mindset at any level of the career path. And I think that truly, I often point out to people, the moment you start investing and getting used to getting comfortable with the uncomfortable and getting comfortable with the idea of uncertainty, that not only helps you develop that financial resilience, but it's like emotional resilience. Nothing can really detract you. Once you've got used to seeing your money that you work so hard for, you're so invested in, you go up and down. That is a path to success itself. So for a lot of people who are involved in planning conversations, they find that they are better performing at work. I do tend to deal with, so for a lot of times, and I think it's quite common, you have families, households where the person that I speak with is an employee because they need that safety. They need the 9-to-5er to support the dreamer, the aspirational, the entrepreneur. So more often than not, I find that one of the people in the family is employed and the other one goes and pursues their dreams and sets up a business and can navigate those uncertainties. And it's going to be ups and downs and crazy moments, but you need the 9-to-5er to support that dream. So I do point out that, in these conversations, you need to celebrate the teamwork, because a 9-to-5er is not necessarily happier, but it's a must when it comes to the financial stability of people. So in a way, and I think that's the beauty of the work I do, I don't have to talk to a person and I know that it's just the one individual I influence or I empower. Is the whole network around them. It's just ripple effect of people that are dependent, codependent of that person. And that's exciting.
I like it. Great. So you won an award with the PFS, didn't you? It's the Financial Education Champion of the Year. And recently you've been one of the co-hosts for Wealth and Women podcast with the PFS, which we got involved with, and we filmed that. And I was had the luxury of sitting and just listening to a podcast live, which then inspired me to create my own podcast live. So that's in the making at the moment.
Fantastic.
Yeah. First off, just give our listeners a little insight into what that podcast is actually about.
So it started, I think the idea started when I met Hazel and Emma and Tracy through these awards events. And we noticed that there are increasingly women winning these awards, but yet we don't see enough women in financial planning. So we were thinking, well, why is that? Clearly, great signs. Clearly, it's very positive that we see women emerging in financial planning roles and financial coaching, but not enough. So what can we do about this? So we said, well, actually, PFS have been really good in giving us platform to express our opinions and have a voice. But how do you make that more impactful? So that's how the podcast came about. We just got together in a series of calls and we said, well, we have all these ideas, we have our own stories, we have our own perspectives. It's a true richness of experiences and stories. How do you put them out there to inspire more women to join the industry? And so that's how it came about. And it just, we didn't have any agenda per se. It was just themes that emerged, like the most common themes. You were there. It wasn't anything script. We just went and then it just happened.
Yeah, I saw it and it was great. It was fantastic. And anyone wants to listen to it, they can go and listen to the mini-series, which hopefully might be recorded some episodes. So I hope you guys do, with or without me. I think it's fantastic.
Hope so.
So yeah, go to the PFS. You can listen to it on YouTube as well, can't you? And you can listen to it on all the big hits, Spotify, Apple, etc. So get out there and give it a listen. Now, it was yourself and 3 financial planners. So you work with financial planners. You entwine your coaching in with financial planning. Is that something you always did, or did you ever feel like an outsider to it? How did you start working with financial planners? And is it a good mutual relationship that commercially helps you as well?
Yeah, so actually I qualified as financial planner not long ago. It was through 2018. Before that, I was working for an asset management firm. I was managing a business coaching program for financial advisors. And for many years, it was an incredibly important times when we were, it was post-RDR, transitioning from commission-based to fee-based, and then all those transformative conversations in how you can navigate towards score space. It was just fun. We were having fun. And then every single time I was in these workshops and then coaching financial advice company firms to transform the way they did the planning piece with the client at the center, financial advisors would nudge me. It's like, okay, you're doing all this. You ought to be great as a financial advisor. We don't have women. We have a huge amount of women coming into wealth. They're not comfortable. It was still the times when you had to show up in person to service someone. So they said, there are lots of women with wealth. They're not comfortable opening the door to a financial advisor male after 7 o'clock in the evening. You would be perfect for this. And so, and I think I got to the point where I felt like I was reaching a plateau in my development, and I then started paying attention to these narratives. But I remember having my second child and being at the school gates for the first time, really having conversations with parents, mainly moms, and then tremendously talented, clever people, totally bamboozled about finances. Because you talk about school holidays and uniforms and clubs and stuff, and money would come up. And I think after I've had my second child, I realized how all this spending is just it becomes this thing that you battle with every day. It felt like it was expanding and expanding some more, and I was earning not quite much because I was on maternity leave, and all of a sudden the pressures of making things work, and I kept being more aware that I wasn't actually alone in this. And so I thought how lucky I am to be in an environment where I talk to financial advisors and they tell me about stuff, but things that I wouldn't necessarily ask questions about because I wasn't a financial advisor. I didn't understand what I should be asking questions about. And then obviously these people that I was dealing with were people who wouldn't normally afford a financial advisor. And then that kind of triggered me to go and qualify as a financial advisor. And then in the back of my head, wondering, how can I service these people? Clearly, it's not the kind of people that would typically land in front of a financial advisor. How do I make this more affordable? So after I qualified as a financial planner, I worked with a couple of financial advice firms. I really enjoyed that, but it was wealthy people with their own problems. In the back of my head, I had these people at the school gates kind of asking for, in my mind, I made it my mission to kind of find a way to service these people. And one day I went to this conference and Simone Nessen was on the stage, a woman, financial coach. Wow. My mind just exploded thinking, wow, is it actually a thing where you can combine coaching, which is something I've always been passionate about, with financial skills? Amazing. So then I qualified as a financial coach and I never looked back. It's unregulated. I don't have to have the pressure of recommending product, but I am as effective as a financial planner in early stages, helping people reconnect with those best ideas and kind of get going, get in that creative mindset where they can start taking actions and make decisions. So it was absolutely completely transformative for me, Sam. I wouldn't have thought that, fast forward many years, I would be in a financial coach shoes, but it felt like a gradual evolution towards a vision and a mission that I've always had.
I love it. Brilliant. That's a great explanation. I'm glad you found something that is aligned with your values and purpose as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's an important thing. I really like that. What qualification was it you did?
So I did the level 4, so the financial planning diploma through CII PFS. So normally it would take you about 18 months to get from A to Z, but I made the decision to quit my job whilst setting up my own business. And then I did that in like 8 months, the whole lot.
And when did you take the qualification for coaching, and which one was that?
And then I think it was 2 years later. So I think it was in 2020 that I did the certification with Simone, the Wise Monkey certification.
Right. Okay. Talk to us about, because I think there are people that would love to be a financial coach, but they don't quite know how to get into being a financial coach. They don't quite know how to make money as being a financial coach, because not everyone's advertising jobs for financial coaches. There isn't an abundance of financial coaching jobs, as far as I can see. So if someone's listening to this now and they're interested in how to become a financial coach, and they don't have to have some YouTube channel with 100,000 followers, what can they do?
Firstly, the qualification, the certification is useful because it gives you a more structured way to look at the world. It gives you the coaching models. So you develop an awareness around coaching models. You get to role play a few times, with the team. So there's some academical immersion there, but also the practical element. What I find, though, just like with everything else, the certification is a small piece in the whole development. You need that time with your clients. You need the practice. You need to have the first calls and then write down what works, what doesn't work, and find your rhythm, find your method. How you go about this? Usually, increasingly, you see players like Octopus Money and Bipit that do recruit financial coaches. In both cases, I think, actually, I don't know. I think Octopus Money don't require you to be a financial planner, but Bipit do. So Bipit do hold you to higher standards in terms of financial qualifications, financial planning qualifications. But you can put yourself out there. There are quite a few, I think, employee benefit firms that have the financial advice arm, and they develop the financial coaching arm. I think I developed a network with financial advisors whereby they know of me, they know of my skill set, and they send clients my way, especially clients who are either in the onboarding phase. So clients who have landed in front of a financial advisor because as a result of bereavement, for example, they have an inheritance or they have divorce. They have like really defining moments, I think, or what may be seen as defining moments in their financial journey. But because of this element of like heavy lifting in terms of the mindset piece, the decision making, their ability to actually participate in financial planning, they send them my way to reset them, to put them kind of in that mind, in that advice mindset, advice ready mindset, and then I send them back, and they're ready to make informed decisions. So that's one way to do it. Establishing a relationship with a financial advisor that see the value in financial coaching, and partner like this.
Just on that note, do you charge does the financial advisor pay? Does the client pay? Does it become part of the whole overall package that the client gets for the service and you're part of it? Is it like a referral operation? Just out of interest.
Usually the financial advisor picks up the bill.
Okay, yeah.
Because they make it part and parcel of their package. So they explain to the client that this is a must for you to make the best decisions, to be truly a partner in this financial planning conversation. I need you to feel empowered. I need you to feel 100% like you're doing, you can participate in these conversations. And so they make it part of their service. It's not this, and actually, because I'm there, actually, the way we paid, the fees that we charge are much, much, much lower than a financial advisor would charge. And that makes it profitable for the financial advisor, because instead of them spending hours unpacking that client's visions and worries and fears and so on, they can actually delegate that to someone like me, I do the heavy lifting in terms of the emotional and practical and so on. I do the educational piece for the client to understand why we're talking about the things that we talk about. Why would a financial advisor approach all of the key elements of financial planning in the way they would approach it? So I get them familiar with the process. A lot of people feel really, really fearful in front of a financial advisor. Unfortunately, we're still transitioning these times when people feel like they're going to be sold something, and it's not necessarily true. In some cases, it may be the case, but it's not necessarily true. So to have someone like me who is seen as a partner, but someone who's kind of removed from the whole advice piece somewhat, to kind of paint the picture for the client, to get them familiar with the unfamiliar, is really, really beneficial. So the client walks in feeling confident, feeling like they're going to be treated like true partners, and those conversations actually are more valuable because they don't feel like they're wasting each other's time. They know exactly what they're in for.
I like it. I like it a lot. It's amazing how many financial planning companies don't have financial coaches within their business yet. I always thought it was coming. It's coming. I was always, I've been doing this podcast for like 4 years. Catherine Morgan, for example, came on it. And we were talking about it back then that coach is definitely going to be part. I see the future being coaches and financial planners together. But no one's really taken that kind of leap yet. And actually, I'm at Hoxton and I'm having the conversation about it. I am talking to quite a popular financial coach at the moment about co-creating content, for example, that we can then use. That instead of someone turning away because there's maybe not, they don't feel comfortable, we can direct them to a coaching series that they can watch on demand or through our app. So someone might come into the app because they're interested in managing their international assets or doing a cash flow forecast through Wealth Flow, which is our cash flow forecast. But there's a piece before that, isn't there? There is a piece in there of kind of A, don't really know what I'm doing, and B, I don't know if I'm ready for this. And you can just kind of are you ready for financial advice? And how do you feel about money? What are you doing for your future? These what is a pension? Just real simple educational videos with a coach, I think is really good. And the ability to then book in with the coach if you want to just have a coaching session. It could be a coaching session for an hour, a week, ongoing. Why not offer? Why not create that and build that into your financial planning business? Because it's kind of like you're building a deeper relationship with someone that potentially will be a client, and they're going to be ready then to take on the next step, which means from a duty of care, consumer duty perspective, it's bang on the money. Right? It's bang on the money that you're doing the best you can for those clients and making sure you're not turning people away. You're also offering a service that's potentially life-changing for somebody that might not be able to afford the time with a financial planner, but also you're freeing up financial planners' time.
Absolutely.
So they're not begrudgingly having to go, look, I really want to help this person. They feel like shit because I can't, because I need to spend my time and energy on these types of clients. And I know that's a big problem. So in a business, if you're able to build in coaching, what a wonderful thing that will do for the business as morale. And what a wonderful thing we're doing anyway for the well-being of those that might not be returnable. So we're offering a solution to somebody that can't afford the traditional route or identify with the traditional route. You were talking about the women at the school gate. Now, I wonder whether or not they didn't go and see a financial planner. Maybe they didn't associate with a financial planner. Maybe they didn't connect with a financial planner. But when you say financial coach and yourself, and you said you were talking to predominantly women, there's a less of a barrier to entry to getting the problem solved. There's a less of a barrier entry to working on your money question that keeps you up. And I like it at the school. There's something about the school gate, isn't there? To me, get my creative out. Money at the school gate. That kind of conversations at the school gate. And I think, people, that's traditionally what people do. They share their concerns and their worries and with the other mums at a time when they're rushing them out and all of that. And it's nice. And I think someone like yourself, which is a coach, which is the least barrier to entry, there isn't this big, right, it's going to cost me a load of money. As soon as someone you say financial planners, it's going to cost me a load of money. Whereas it doesn't have to. And even people with money think, they put it off because they think, whereas like get a coach in there, bring him in, give him something back as well. Like maybe you go through a coaching program and you get, I don't know, at the end, it's like coaching, a financial health check, isn't it? Like a score. People love that one, apps. Like what's my IQ? Well, what is your IQ? Or what's your EQ? But what's your financial health? What is it?
Yeah.
And people kind of like it. They're like, oh, there's areas I can work on. And then you kind of gamify. And then you say, have you checked out this part of it? Or have you checked out this part of the app? We checked out the budget side bit. You're struggling with budgeting. We checked out our debt video. We talk about debt. So you're a bit like Pete Matthew with this one, Meaningful Money Academy.
Oh.
He's done it really, really well. And like I've had the luxury of kind of talking to Pete on the podcast, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, but I would copy his model because it clearly works. He's got the bit at the front, which is the podcast. He's got the free content, the podcast. He's got the YouTube channel, all that content out there. Calls people into it to listen to it. Those that are then getting something for free. So then if they're serious about it, they enter into the Meaningful Money Academy, where there is an on-demand process that they can go through, financial sort of health check, if you like. They can dip in and out of that. They can dip in and out of the podcast and they can ask questions in the community, which Pete then answers. And then when they're ready, they're filtering into his financial planning business checks as well. And it works. It does work. And he's, it's a six-figure company like Meaningful Money Academy on its own, not in the financial advisor sense. And he gets leads every single day from it. So it's that if the entrepreneurial coach, in my eyes, would be the coach who is connecting with financial planners and thinking, how can I commercialize and scale the ability for you to send your clients to me so I can send them back to you fully prepared? But it's actually going to cost you to send them to me. But it's in a menu of services and there's a value add, which no other financial planning company is offering.
And I think that it's a really good commercial decision as well, Sam, because it's kind of unchanged since I was doing I was doing business coaching all these years ago. But we were looking at profitability, and one of the main detractors from profitability is the dead time, the unproductive time, and that is back to the hours that you spend fact finding someone, them going away, you producing a ton of paperwork as a financial plan, and then sitting on that decision for ages, sometimes not becoming a client at all. Why? Because they're afraid. But if you were to re-engineer this process, like in my case, people walk in without the fear of being sold anything. We have really, really honest, authentic conversations where they show up, they tell me things that they didn't think they would share with anyone, because they see the point. They see that this conversation is helping them clarify their thinking. It helps them validate their approach. It helps them pinpoint areas of improvement, opportunities to improve, potential challenges they need to look out for. They think, okay, this is valuable. This is about me only. It's not about someone else's product. We're having an honest conversation. As they start thinking, like understanding how these pieces fit together, they volunteer. They ask me, do you want me to send you anything? Do you want me to send you... They walk away, put together assets, liability, all these things that advisors notoriously struggle with.
Yeah.
It's like pulling teeth. And then when we start unpacking various areas of concern, they ask me, now what? Who do I talk to implement this? Now, this is the implementation piece. This is when this person becomes your client. Easy. And so this discussion alone, this portion of financial planning can save people huge amount of time and energy.
Yeah.
Can save financial advisors this huge time when they have to do and redo, update the financial plan, because the circumstances have changed in the past 6 to 12 to 18 months since that first conversation with the client. Like if you were to imagine what would my business look like if I started allocating resources strategically, if I used a coach for this, if I used a plan for this, if I used, and by the way, there may be an overlap seemingly between what we see as a financial planner and a financial coach. In fact, the financial coach can be a really good financial planner in the mix. And then you have the financial advisor, the technical minded person that can really help translate all those stories, all those, aspirations, priorities, circumstances into a sound financial plan that will be then implemented.
Do you know what? A lot of financial planners struggle with marketing. They struggle to tell stories. They struggle to put themselves out in a way that emotionally connects with the audience, to be able to draw in leads, business. And there's kind of heavily regulated around it. Financial coaches talk about all the fun stuff, why we consider the fun stuff. Right? So all of a sudden you have a marketing wheel for your business. But it's a marketing wheel that actually makes money. A bit like my financial planner life in my recruitment company. It was a marketing wheel that made me money. So I did in my recruitment business at the time, which I've now sold. But it marketed my recruitment business, but I also made money out because I partnered with people and sponsorship and all of that. And it's an interesting way for a financial planner to go, right, well, we're going to do around marketing. We'll hire a bloody financial coach, get them on Instagram, get them on TikTok, get them on YouTube, get them creating content, pushing it out there alongside a marketer, right? And get them also going through the database. Hi, how you doing? You were somebody that showed an interest in our business. Now we're offering financial coaching. Would you be interested in having some financial coaching? So all of a sudden, you have a different string to your bow. Instead of someone picking up the phone saying, do you want financial planning? Do you want financial planning? You got someone saying, do you want financial coaching? And this is what it is. It's a different type of conversation. It's even kind of financial coach could almost be a trainee financial advisor. So you could actually become a financial coach to then become a financial planner. But it works the other way. And you've done it. I know financial planners who are like, fed up a financial plan. I want to be a coach because they like that bit. That's the bit that they enjoy.
Yeah. And that's when I think we're still in a kind of a fight, and it may be controversial, but a lot of financial advisors say they do financial planning because they're like, oh, we do some of the fluffy stuff. Well, I think for a lot of people, they underestimate the value of the fluffy stuff in that initial phase of financial planning, where the fluffy stuff is so rich with that person's story, so rich with that sense of self. When they put it all out there, and for you to decipher which bit of this requires time, money, and planning, that is invaluable. But again, sorry, Sam, I did notice the difference, back to what you're saying, the difference between like a webinar, like a workshop organized by financial coaches versus the technicians. So I've been told in the past, oh no, your training is different because it's not so technical, and it can be seen as not quite good enough because it's not quite technical enough. And I keep repeating to people that normal people do not wish a PhD level type of training on how the pensions work. They need to understand how these pensions are designed to serve them and set them up for success in later life. And that requires to filter it through how like normal people work, how they think, what's important to them. And that you have a coach who all they do is this: understand the people in front of them and try to find ways to empower these people to be the best they can be at home, at work, professionally, personally, and financially too.
I always think how many financial planners are doing this for free. So a lot of people who've got they genuinely want to help people, they're probably doing it for free, and it almost becomes a bit resentful. Whereas you can monetize this process, right? And you're doing it. It's monetize it, add it to your business. It's a useful tool. I've got to bring this podcast to an end because we're running out of time. And it's been wonderful talking to you. I want to talk to you further about the coaching side of it, I think, because I need to learn more. Because I really, really want to add it into Hoxton, and I want to work out ways to do it.
I'd love to, Max. Sam, it's amazing. Yes.
Fantastic. That'd be amazing to do that. Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time today. Really, really appreciate it. And good luck with the rest of your year.
Thank you, Sam. Really appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.